Hello, all you beautiful internet people. Well, it's a balmy February day. This will be released in March, but I'm recording it in February. As it is, it's February, and it's only about the 10th at the time I'm recording this of February, but I've got a bunch of videos scheduled up for February, so I've got to start recording things for March. So, I just figure, just do a review for the heck of it. I've been wanting to do this review somewhat for a while. This review is a course of a book which I got when I was like 13 or something. I read it entirely through, and then just like a month ago, I found it. And I'm really glad I found it, because this, along with a copy of Jon Stewart's Earth, which I still haven't found, I consider this and Jon Stewart's Earth to be the only two books I've lost that, once found, will really fill me. Because, Jon Stewart's Earth is hilarious. But this book, of course, which I'm going to review right now, is Shatterday by Harlan Ellison. I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't read much of Harlan Ellison's other stuff, but I really like Shatterday. So if the rest of his work is like Shatterday, it should be pretty good. So this is what caught me into buying it originally, is the back cover, which says, "Read this, it'll only take about 45 seconds. And then it has all these things you can read that kind of just like, "And if that doesn't make your eyes sparkle, kiddo, put the book back. I'm telling you, it ain't for you. Respectfully, your pal Harlan." Yeah, pretty chill, pretty chill way to get someone to want to read a book. And I do think he picked the best spots in there that would give you a real good glimpse of the entire book. And like he says, it does only take about 45 seconds to read, as he says, the book. Not the entire book, of course, but if you lured little snippets. And that got my curiosity thumping, so I admire a shrewd advertiser, the likes of Harlan, and so I thought, well, gotta buy it. I thought that Harlan Ellison died at least 2005 or something, but when I got this book, apparently he was still alive. He died in 2017 or something, which is very long. I wouldn't have expected that. The cover is very dog-eared. I've had it for a long while, but I'm not planning on selling it or anything. You got the cover. There's a fellow with his hands clasped behind his back, and then a corpse-looking figure there, and then a guy screaming there. I still don't know what this cover means. It looks like something out of a cool night gallery, but I don't know what it means, because there's no story in here that's anything like a guy with a dark suit and he has his hands behind his back. It's kind of like Shatterday. It's kind of like the last story in here, but Alright, so on the inside we got some great quotes. We got "It's long past time for Harlan Ellison to be awarded the title 20th Century Lewis Carroll." And then you got one from Ray Bradbury, my other favorite. He says, "Saul Bellow, Philip Roth, Norman Mailer, stand aside. Harlan Ellison is a better short story writer than you will ever be again in the rest of your lives." And then he's got some fancy stuff he's got some fancy quotes from Ursula K. Le Guin and Roger Corman. And he's got one from Ron Moore, the executive producer of Battlestar Galactica, a show which I absolutely hate. But don't let that put you off. This is a very good anthology series. Now, although I haven't read any of Harlan Ellison's other story compilations, I haven't read angry candy, or stalking the nightmare, or strange wine, or no doors, no windows, or the beast that shouted love at the heart of the world, or over the edge, or all the sounds of fear, the time of the eye, or approaching oblivion, or slippage, or troublemakers, or pain god and other delusions. I gotta say, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good compendium of stuff here. And I do know two stories by Harlan Ellison I don't like. One is I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, because it's always used by pseudo-intellectuals and it's trash. It's just depressing trash about a scary artificial intelligence. And maybe when Harlan Ellison wrote about it, it wasn't a cliche yet, but it's a cliche now, and that kind of thing just kind of gets on my nerves when everyone acts like, oh, it's so smart. You know, I can't root for characters who have nothing to win for because the world has been put into oblivion, and oh, then I'll turn you into a big jelly monster. You know, just a bunch of masochism for lunatics. And then you got the other one you've got is Boy and His Dog, because that inspired Fallout, and anything that inspired Fallout can't be good. But as far as Shatterday goes, it's a pretty fun collection of speculative fiction. I really enjoyed reading all the way through it. So if you want to know which ones to look out for, I'm an expert on Shatterday, not on Strange Wine or The Beast That Shouted World at the Center of Love or whatever. But it's very good. It's a very good story. I mean, it's a very good anthology. I like speculative fiction, and like I said, I'm more experienced with Stephen King, Ray Bradbury. Those are the two I like. But Harlan Ellison is a very quirky little fella, and he's much more eccentric, you would say, than Ray Bradbury or Stephen King. He's like, you know, the complete nerd. He was a complete 70s nerd, writing all this stuff. And the first of his stories is written in 1959, and the last is all the way in 2005. So that's a pretty broad career. I think Harlan Ellison has much more of an influence on speculative fiction than many of us know. So we got up in here, we got how much? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We got 16 stories. So I'm going to try and rank them for you here. I gotta say, the worst one is Sisolda. That's the worst one. And I looked up the Wikipedia article for it. It didn't have a good reception there either. No one actually liked it. No one liked it. It's bad. It's not good. Sisolda, not good. Don't read it. It's junk. It's trash. No one likes it. You know, even the biggest Ellison fans are like, it's a bad joke. Don't read it. It's just a bad joke is all. That's the worst. I'd say above that is The Other Eye of Polyphemus. Very confusing. I didn't get it. There's not really a plot. I didn't actually get any of it. There's no plot, but better than Sisolda. Above that, I'd put Shopkeeper. The twist did seem a little gimmicky, but, you know, competent, of course. Which else? Above Shopkeeper, no, actually, I'd put All the Lives That Are My Life below Shopkeeper, because at least Shopkeeper is kind of fun. All the Lives That Are My Life is just drawn out and long and boring and has nothing to keep the reader invested. I give All the Lives That Are My Life below Shopkeeper. Then we got Would You Do It for a Penny above Shopkeeper. This is kind of funny, kind of immature, not as bad as Sisolda or anything, but you know, then above that, I would put, which would I put? Django. Django is competent. It's a little surreal, a little trippy. You know, I can see what he's going for. But yeah. And then above that, I'd put Executioner of the Malformed Children. interesting story, interesting concept, interesting future and whatnot, and I think it hasn't been done much like that. Above that, All the Birds Come Home to Roost, a lot scarier than Malformed Children. Not literal malformed children, but the story of the executioner of the malformed children. All the Birds Come Home to Roost is very nerve-gripping, and especially since it doesn't even really have any supernatural element, but you sense that there is one. It's kind of disturbing. Opium. Where would I put Opium? I guess above Shopkeeper. Opium seemed too short for me, personally. Then above that, we got Count the Clock That Tells the Time. Interesting concept. Very good speculative fiction. It's not exactly a time travel story. It's more just kind of an interesting how does time operate story. I found it more interesting than time travel stories. It kind of, not traveling in time, but how does time work? What's the gosh, where would I put Friendless Voyage? Pretty low. Maybe above All the Birds Come Home to Roost. Alive, Unwell, and A Friendless Voyage just kind of reads like nonsense. I mean, it's cool and everything, and it's got some cool imagery in it, but I didn't really get Friendless Voyage. It's too deep for me, I suppose, as they say. Let me think. Above Opium, I guess I'd put Shatterday. Excellent way to end off the whole compendium. I mean, it's a good story, very original idea. Maybe not so much nowadays, but back when it was written, fresh stuff and very interesting. Great execution. I give it. I say it's good. Above that, I guess I'll put The Man Who Is Heavily into Revenge. Even a more interesting concept than Shatterday. I mean, that's pretty much gold right there. Above that, above Revenge, I guess I'll put Flop Sweat. Flop Sweat is just real spooky. I mean, I can imagine being scared listening to that on the radio, and I'm sure they enjoyed Harlan Ellson's eccentric personality. I can read through it, It's a very good spooky thriller, The ending of Flop Sweat seemed a little exaggerative, like off the deep end, but above that, I'm gonna put Jeff D's 5. Classic, very interesting. No spoilers, 0 spoilers. Only it's based on Walter Koenig's son, Tops Noten, and the only one above that. My favorite of the whole collection is In the Fourth Year of the War. The Fourth Year of the War is very good. I think Jerry Olander is one of the coolest literary villains I've ever seen. Right up there with Pennywise and Charlie Minx. I gotta say, whoa, it's Jerry Olander. Whoa. So I give Shatterday, I'd say some of the stories are definitely better than others. Sisolda and Polyphemus, like I said, are the weakest. Not very good. But Fourth Year of the War is really good. And again, reading it now, you might think Fourth Year of the War is kind of cheesy, but that's just the kind of psychological horror I really enjoy. It's really good. Really interesting concept. I like stuff about the human mind, because in this day and age, you got garbage movies like Slender Man and Selfie from Hell, Oh, technology is scary, I don't like that kind of stuff. Black Mirror, oh, it's a spooky computer. The internet isn't scary, and you can't act like it is. The internet is the least scary thing you can get. There's nothing more scary than the human mind. All right, there's nothing more scary than the human mind. So I give Fourth Year of the War. That's from a bygone age of literary stuff where computers weren't a threat and no one gave a shit. They were just little BB machines. Same way there are now. All you do is Snapchat and emojis and selfies and it's fine and all, but it's not scary. This is scary. This is some good stuff. Like I said, the twist of Shopkeeper seemed a little, yeah, I don't like stories much that are like, oh, it's 9/11, or oh, it's the Kennedy assassination, or oh, it's Charles Manson, which I'm not going to spoil it, but, the twist seems a little cheap, like it's not the best twist. I like a lot of these stories mainly because they don't really have a twist, like Shatterday doesn't have a twist, Jeff D doesn't really have a twist, Fourth Year of the War definitely doesn't have a twist. But yeah, I give Sisolda the lowest. That's just not worth even putting in an anthology. I give Sisolda the lowest. But overall, pretty good. I thought Flop Sweat really went off the deep end. Like at the beginning of the story, it seemed like really, grounded, real realistic. But then near the end, it starts to teeter on insanity. I don't like that because, like Stephen King, for instance, is a lot more controlled in what he says. Like, all his stories have a minor supernatural element. Like Uncle Otto's truck, for instance. The truck is scary, but what happens to Uncle Otto isn't supernatural. He's just Uncle Otto, and they're just I won't spoil it, but gosh, Stephen King is a little more subtle than Harlan Ellison, especially in a story like Flop Sweat, which really goes berserk really quick. Like, even in a story like The Mist, Stephen King shows an ounce of restraint, but Flop Sweat really doesn't show much restraint. What else do I have to say about any of this? Oh yeah, All the Lies That Are My Life. Not that good. Like, it's as he says, it's 22,300 words, and it took 12 years to write. I've written, more words than that, quicker, but I don't think All the Lies That Are My Life is very good. You can't identify with it unless we're in the sci-fi community in the 50s and 60s, which not many people today were, let's be honest. It just kind of feels like Harlan Ellison ranting about one of his buddies, and it's not very good. I feel like three stories could have been put there instead of All the Lies That Are My Life, and it would have been better, because gosh, All the Lies That Are My Life is pretty bland. It doesn't even belong in this collection, really, because it's not sci-fi. It's just like a boring nonfiction story. There's nothing to do with sci-fi with it. It just sounds like a boring type, So look at this. So Harlan Ellison put a little introduction of gray pages. So here's like the white pages, and then he's got the gray pages before each story, kind of a little folksy introduction to say, oh look, I'm your pal Harlan, telling you a little folksy introduction about this is how I came by this story, and this is why I came to this story, and it's kind of interesting. But judging by each introduction, you can tell how long each story is. The big one in the middle, that's All the Lies That Are My Life. That big interrupted stretch of white. What a waste of space. As it could have been three really good. That could have been three really good stories there. It's just a boring kind of autobiography about this is how it was back in so and so. Oh, my pal Jerry Lewis Cruikshank, or Carstairs, or his name's Carstairs or whatever. And it's just not very good. It's not very good. I give it. It's pretty cheesy and not very good. The other thing is, Would You Do It for a Penny? Of course, is in collaboration with Haskell Barkin, and I can see that. It just seems like a very bad cheap, kind of male chauvinist story, just not very good. And, it is kind of lacking, because I prefer pure Harlan Ellison, not mixed together with some other guy. Yeah, so, like I said, Opium is too short. It's like the shortest thing. It's like a little short thing. And not even that, but it's not even that good. And it's supposedly about television, but I never would have guessed. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is kind of pretentious. Like, some of it is a lot of fun. I like non-pretentious speculative fiction. Thank you very much. I like fiction with zero metaphors, zero allegories. As I said in the previous video, I'm metaphorically incapable, or whatever I called it. My point being, I like good pulpy fun, and none of the drawn out, oh, this is a metaphor for so-and-so. Like Opium is a metaphor for TV. I never would have guessed. And why do you hate TV so much anyway? It's just a format, And it's certainly improved. It's improved since the 60s. Any sci-fi writer that picks on TV too much is like, geez, what a technophobe, Not to say that AI isn't a danger, but that's why I think Fahrenheit 451 is the worst Ray Bradbury story, because it's just whining about a technology that he didn't even understand. There's much better stuff by Ray Bradbury, but I find that, the only book I ever read was Fahrenheit 451. That's the only one I ever read by Ray Bradbury. There's Dandelion Wine, there's Something Wicked This Way Comes. Something Wicked is way better than Fahrenheit 451. I guarantee you that. Something Wicked is better than Fahrenheit. Like Alive and Well, On a Friendless Voyage, I felt like that meant something. I felt like it meant something. I guess it didn't. Either that or it did. The introduction certainly doesn't say what it meant. It's just, he just says, dear Mr. He just reprints a fan letter he got. So I don't know. It's not. Yeah, not really an explanation much. I really like In the Fourth Year of the War, because that's just a fun story. I also like Man Who Is Heavily Into Revenge. Just a fun story. No metaphors involved, just a fun story. I really like Jeff DS5. Jeff DS5 is a great opener to the thing. And Shatterday. I like Shatterday. And that's about it. Yeah. Like I said, I'd put Flop Sweat in my top 5, but yeah, it does go off the deep end. So I'll say Jeff DS5, Heavily Into Revenge, Fourth Year of the War, and Shatterday are my 4 favorites. And my favorite of the 4 is Fourth Year of the War. That's I think just genius. If there's one story you read out of these 16, make it Fourth Year of the War. Very good. So, like I said, I like Harlan Ellison quite a bit. I think he's not the worst science fiction writer. Not the best, but up there with the best. I mean, I respect him, except his story Boy and His Dog sucks, and his story I Have No Mouth sucks, but some of his stuff is pretty good. He wrote some of The Outer Limits, the best ones, of course. He wrote City on the Edge of Forever. He wrote a script for an episode of The Batman Show with Two-Face that they rejected. I will make an episode about the 60s Batman Show sometime and why it's garbage. Overall, I give Harlan Ellison, I say 8 out of 10 with this collection. It's not like, it didn't knock me out or anything, because only 4 of the stories were legit gold. But if you have enough time, buy a copy and thumb through it. It's pretty good. I think Harlan Ellison, I think Stephen King is the kind of thing that everyone can get behind. Ray Bradbury is for a very niche audience, and Harlan Ellison is just kind of the everyman of sci-fi. You can just kind of he's not a big celeb like Stephen King, but you can read through it and think, oh, he's just a normal guy and he's just writing all this everyday stuff. None of this stuff is too outrageous or anything. It's mostly just kind of, normal fellas in normal or somewhat crazy situations. Nothing. I mean, this isn't like a fun collection. It's not like an outrageous amount of fun, but a few of the stories are thought-provoking at least. So that's just my review of Shatterday. I think it's not as good as I remember, but it's still pretty good. I mean, it's worth a read. It's worth a read. So that's been, just a basic review. I figured was worth covering because I think Shatterday is kind of an interesting anthology, and I think the Ellison estate certainly deserves a little more profit. But I think you have to go out and buy the book yourself and see what you think. I think, like I said, Fourth Year of the War is the best one, and if that back cover doesn't catch you, let me tell you, it caught me, and I'm not even that gullible, but I'm glad it caught me, because this is a good book. So anywho, Shatterday, pretty chill, and I still have zero idea what this cover means, but it's pretty cool, but I don't know what it means. Alright, so that's been another episode of the Nicholas Cicada Review. Be sure to like, subscribe, and do whatever, or don't. I'm never going to make money off this, so if you watched it and you enjoyed it, that's enough. There we go. We're going to go out with the photo of the fella in agony, and his mouth is stretched out to cartoonish proportions. Thanks for watching. Wow. Wow.